Are you interested in real investigations? Well, this is the episode for you. This is Wednesdays with Willa, and I am your host, Willa White. I'm a registered Lily Dale medium, and this has been my show for 9 years now. So you have lots of archive videos of past shows that you can enjoy to your heart's content. Many people tell me they binge watch the shows because they really enjoy learning more about spiritualism, mediumship, healing, faith, family, and more. So you can find the show on my Facebook page, Willow White Medium, as well as the Lilydale Assembly Facebook page and my YouTube channel. And just to let people know that Facebook decided a few months ago that every 30 days they're going to get rid of live videos. So I would refer you to my YouTube channel where those will stay up permanently so that you can watch the replay there and enjoy it. And what's so fun is you can also type in whatever was your favorite guest and watch more episodes about them on my show as well. So I also want to mention that for February, for the month of February, I do have a video learning series, and you can do instant watching with videos, and there are bonus handouts, and there's a whole package associated with it. But the different classes are symbol interpretation, coping strategies for empaths, and connecting with your spiritual support team. So there's a great classes, or some of my more popular ones, and I encourage you to jump on board because that's limited just for the month of February. So without further ado, I'd like to bring onto the show my special guest for today, my friend Pam Coronado. Thanks for being here today, Pam.
Well, thanks for having me back. Yeah, I'm excited.
Absolutely. Yes. Pam is a very special person. I'm so excited to give you the rundown on so many of her abilities. She's just a true gem of a person as well. But my special guest today, for those of you who don't know who Pam Coronado is, she was the star of Discovery Channel's popular series Sensing Murder. She's been involved in Psy criminal work since 1996, when a dream provided her with the information needed to help a search party locate a missing woman in California. Since then, she has consulted as a private detective for police departments, state, federal, international, private agencies. Everybody wants her. Pam has demonstrated her skills on live television for several networks, including A&E, Biography Channel, Discovery Channel, and she has extensive training that has enabled her to use a wide variety of tools, including clairvoyance, clairaudience, controlled remote viewing, and psychometry to gain insight into a crime or a missing person case. And she's also the former president of the International Remote Viewing Association, a well-deserved title. So we're glad to have her back here on the show today to talk about how intuition is used in real investigations. Pam is an expert in this field, and so I'm going to pass the baton to her so she can get us started about this because it's such a fascinating territory. There are a lot of TV shows that cover this sort of thing, but Pam's actually been there in the trenches working, finding missing people. So I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to be back and to talk to you and see you again. You're just such a bright light. And thank you for that long introduction.
It's well deserved.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm like, wow, I did all that. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, a lot of people have questions and misconceptions and different ideas about what it means to be a psychic detective or what it means, how, this whole field works. And I am ready to help with all of that and answer those questions. And and you're a great interviewer. I was so happy last time because you understand the process part, and so you ask intelligent questions because you you understand the process. Yeah.
Absolutely. And in the realm that you're working, and this is that place where you're having to uh, take on board, hey, we have a missing person, hey, we have a case, and you're having to get just enough information, but not too much information from everyone else, and rely very heavily on your intuition in that process. So perhaps you can step us through what it's like in an investigation, from maybe a start to finish, if you can.
Yeah. The first step is usually I'm contacted by law enforcement or a family member who, more often than not, tells me that they have a missing person and, they're looking for some kind of clarity or answers or help or direction or anything. And I always say I'm not Superman. I'm not here to ride in with my cape and like fix it all. Um, but I am hopefully going to provide direction and fill in some of the blanks and things that can get them going in the right direction. I'm also search and rescue certified, so I actually do real search stuff too, which has given me a lot of insight into what kind of information they need, what's helpful and what's not helpful. But I take a photo, I ask for a photo of the missing person, and and the first thing everybody wants to know, I don't know if you guys can see my dog.
Yes, yeah, it's okay.
Uh, she loves to be on camera. Um, I ask if I try to determine if they're alive and they're in their body or not, which is a really tricky thing, actually, harder than it looks. Even for mediums, you would think it would be easy. It's actually harder because mediums, it's hard to tell if you're speaking to someone's higher self, if you're connecting to their higher self or if you're connecting to them out of spirit. Uh, so I always teach everybody in my classes try to stay focused on the physical body, try to stay focused on the physical body. Are they in the physical body or not? And not get confused by some of that. So I do that. I try to first determine if I think they're in their body or not in their body. Um, And then, of course, I want to kind of assess really quick what their scenario is. Like, are they um, are they alive and in danger? We have Alzheimer's patients that wander away, or autistic children, or people go missing for a lot of different reasons. And so, I'm trying to do a quick assessment on what I think their situation is, and then. Once I do that, then I'm going to focus on, trying to describe the location and what I'm getting about their current situation.
So in establishing first, are they alive or dead? Have you noticed that there's certain tips or tricks that have worked well for you?
Yeah. Um, yeah. Like I said, it's trickier than you think. Um, but for me, I've tried a bunch of different methods over the years and kind of have a method that's 95% of the time is going to work for me accurately. For me, I like to take my consciousness to where they are. So I just kind of take my consciousness, I'm going to plop down wherever they are. um, so that helps me to realize, are they in their body, or do I see remains or something like that? What do I see if I actually take myself there? So that's the main way that I do it most of the time.
So you go into a remote viewing space so that you can be next to that individual's body.
Mhm.
That you kind of focus in and are able to pinpoint location, and then you can see whether you can interface with them as a body.
Right. Because either, you know, um, if they're alive, they're moving around and doing things and interacting with the world, which actually makes it easier for me. I'd much rather have a missing person that's on the move, believe it or not,
Mhm.
um, because they're actually moving around and interacting with the world.
Mhm.
You know, they got to eat. Um,
Yeah, so
yeah,
you'll get mundane kind of things.
I,
What are they
I'm a
eating?
foodie. I'm a foodie. I can tell you where they're gonna go have lunch.
Yeah, I remember that when you were on the show last time, you said, "Yep, there they are, going to Subway."
Yeah, the Subway story. Yep.
That was such a good one.
Yep. We have the receipt on that one.
Yep.
Uh,
And so if that's the thing when as mediums we understand that people don't really die. Their body does, but their soul lives on. So there is in essence a living spirit, which is where the difficulty lies.
yes.
So I think you're right. If you can see them and get a sense of them interacting in real time, then you know that they are actually in their body and going through these motions
Yeah.
versus I'm out, I'm going and visiting my mom, I'm going and visiting
Right.
so and so, whoever it is that's near and dear to them. Then you're getting reports about those kinds of things. You know, you're in a mediumship experience.
Yes. Now, one of the mistakes that students make all the time, which is it's funny to me, is they'll be looking at the picture and they'll say, "Are you dead or alive?" And they always say, um, "Alive." And I'm like, "Well, of course they're saying they're alive."
Living spirit, yeah.
Because if they're in spirit, they're like, of course I'm alive, right? So I'm like, don't ask that question. Don't ask that question because they're always going to tell you they're alive. Even if they're not, they're in spirit, they still, they're like, I'm alive. So I always say, do not ask that question.
I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the question you ask is show me or give me a sense of your body and what's surrounding it and how you're interfacing or if you're not interfacing. So that would be the first step.
Yes. I had a little boy. This one kind of blew up the media. I didn't do it on purpose, but someone had given me a little boy who was missing in Australia, and I did not know he was like the most sought after little missing boy in Australia. Um, and I just connected to his picture right away because he was adorable. And I do struggle with kids. I find kids very difficult. Um, but I was like, okay, mentally, you kind of think, he's been missing a while. The odds aren't good. Your mental kind of gets in there. But I um, took my consciousness, and people ask what that means. People will ask me, what does that mean? Take your consciousness to there. And one of the examples I say is if you're sitting here, we're both sitting here, you can imagine yourself walking into your kitchen and standing in front of your sink. So all of us can sit here right now, even while we're sitting here, and we can mentally go into our own kitchen and stand in front of our sink. So that's the process of what it means to consciously take your conscious somewhere else.
I could even take my consciousness to be where you are
Yeah.
and stand next to you while you're
Yeah.
sitting there on Zoom.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, yeah.
So with this little boy, I took my consciousness to where he was, not sure what I was going to encounter, and um, and as sure as day, I mean, it was so real. He was sitting there eating a sandwich. He was sitting there eating a sandwich. um, and he was happy and safe and munching on this sandwich and talking to a little schoolmate friend, and I am like, what? What is going on? And we haven't proven it one way or the other. He's still missing. Uh, but it turns out that this little boy had been kidnapped he was in foster care, and turns out he'd been kidnapped by his family before. So it is a strong possibility that he is somewhere tucked away, being cared for by, someone. But I was not expecting that at all. I was not expecting that. But yeah, just plain as day, he was sitting right next to me, had his little sandwich, and he was happy as could be. And I was just like, I think he's alive. I think he's alive. Um, and the courts were getting ready to declare him dead. They do different things over there, and they stopped. They stopped the process and
Based
waited.
on what you shared. Wow. Wow.
I think they eventually did go through with that, but they waited for another year, I think, or something like that. So, yeah,
Yeah, just to give the benefit of the doubt and give, yeah, because an investigation is different when they're considered alive versus dead, right?
very different. Very different. That's why it's such an important question. And I'm sorry about the throat. I have allergies. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it's very, very different in how they're going to move forward if a person's alive and and they need um, urgent, it's urgent, an urgent situation, or if they're not alive, then obviously they're going to handle that in a totally different in a different way.
uh, because they're very limited in terms of their resources and what they're able to then do financially and the movement of various units and the search and rescue things. So then the next step after you've made this discernment of alive or dead, then you're probably trying to zoom out from the location
Yeah.
at the location to get more details. So in that next step, what happens for you?
Yep. So if let's say they're not alive, so let's say they're not moving around, let's say they're they're not alive, um, then I treat that. I have a method that I do every single time. I just do it that way because then I don't have to remember when I'm in the zone and trying to remember what I'm supposed to do. So it's a routine. I do it every single time. But I kind of put myself right there, wherever they are, as if I was standing there. And then I look around and I look at the ground. I look everywhere around me to get a good feel of what it would look like if I was standing here. In case I do, in case I do a search, I want to know what I'm looking for. And then I'll look every direction. So I'll look forward and see what's in front of me, and then I'll sketch it on paper. And then I'll turn around and what's behind me, describe what's behind me, and I do the left and the right. And then once I have a really strong sense of the immediate area, because I'm really trying to get the immediate part, the immediate area, because you can't tell a searcher, I mean, people do it. You can't tell a searcher, I see a path in the woods because they're like, thank you. They
That was
kind
so
of,
helpful.
we were kind of going that way. Um, and they're like, that's not helping. But if you say, hey, there's an old, I actually had a case where this happened. Did I ever tell? I'll tell you this story really quick. So I had a case where I did that process, and I saw I saw like a half a couch. Was really weird. The couch had been sawed in half and thrown down into this ditch area. So I saw this half a couch with plaid. It was plaid and it was half a couch. And then I saw like a tire and I saw a big pile of brown beer bottles, which to me was the strangest thing. I was like, why in nature would there be this huge pile of brown? And they were all the same. And I was thinking, that is so weird. Why would I see that? But all of that made an impression on me. And then when I actually did go out and we did the search, we were driving along this dirt road And I look over and there's this big, huge pile of brown beer bottles. And I'm like, stop the car, stop the car right now. Um, and then I don't know, I guess people would just go over there and party and they would just throw them out. But I guess um, this was in Georgia. It was in Georgia. Um, and then I was just like, okay, stop the car. And then we got out and we looked over the ridge. And there's this, you know, big ditch, ravine, I guess, ravine.
Or a
Look
gully.
over. Yeah, I look into that ravine and and I see the couch. I see the couch. Um, and at that point, I was like, "Okay, bring the search dogs. Go get the search dogs." And then within 20 minutes of being there, the search dogs alerted, and then we were there. But I got there because I looked. I had well, so how did we get there, right? Because that was the immediate area.
Yes.
But
You have to zoom it out.
how did I get there in the first place? Uh,
Hmm.
so after I do that immediate area, then I zoom out because I think of it as like a target and you just keep going out. So I zoom out and that time, um, and I do this every time too. I ask for like um, the most recognizable, unique landmark within a 2 mile radius. So I'll say, give me the most recognizable, unique landmark within a 2 mile radius. And in that case, it was a very unusual building. And I thought it was, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a fire station because I saw three flags out in the three flag poles in the front, and it was brick. And I didn't, I couldn't tell what the flags, I couldn't tell exactly what the flags were. Um, so in my mind, of course, and all the search people were like, "Oh, it must be a fire station," or why would there be three flags in the front? Um, but that turned out not to be a good thing because it took us 3 years to find that building. It took us 3 years to find the building, and
And what was the building in
it
the
was
end?
part of the veterans cemetery. It was like the little building you go in for information and everything,
Oh, wow.
which is why
Wow.
you try not to identify.
Right.
Try
You try
not
not
to
to assume too much then.
hmm Right, right.
Wow.
So
Wow.
once we had the building, then I knew we were within a 2 mile radius. And so that's why we were driving around in that area. We were, because I was like, okay, now I've got the 2 mile radius. Now I understand.
In some
We're,
of these cases, you're on average hitting many of them are cold cases, but some of them are active cases. And what percentage would you say those are for you then? Active versus cold?
yeah, I used to get only cold cases in the beginning when I was first doing this work. And now, um, now, I get a lot. I get a lot. It's probably almost half. It's
Wow.
probably almost half, at least 40% now of
Mhm.
active cases or somebody who's been missing urgently, like within 24, 48 hours or so. I get a
Mhm.
lot of those. So, um,
Are those mainly coming from the families or from the investigative units?
usually families, once in a while investigative, but usually families because they're just panic stricken and they don't wait, which is good. But law enforcement, I try to stay out of their way, right? When they have an urgent case like that and they're firing in all directions and trying to do their thing, I try to stay out of the way as much as possible. But a lot of times they want that direction too, because they don't want to spend their time going off, in the wrong.
And you're a trusted resource. That's the difference. You have a track record.
Right.
of being accurate in these ways. And so, in terms of receiving information, when you say they give me, is that coming from the spirit of the individual, the missing person that is so-called dead?
Mhm.
Or is it coming from a spiritual support team
A
that
spiritual
is
support team. Yeah.
right, right. And so
I love that
you've
too.
kind of identified that you have this team that's assisting you in these endeavors that, are be they angels or guides, that
Right. Yeah.
they are
Mhm.
trying to help bring about successful connection and culmination,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
peace and comfort from that.
Yeah. And I trust that. I trust that because we have an ongoing relationship. And so that's why it's easy for me to trust the information because we have this ongoing relationship. And, I just know
Yeah.
they're,
It's been established for years now that you
yeah,
have this
yeah,
team, and that you're working uh, in the seen and the unseen world, and that they are able to assist in those dynamics. Do you feel them when you're actually on site during the search as well, or is that mainly when you're still in your own space, accumulating information on the intuitive level?
It's mostly when I'm doing it in my own space and I'm meditating and I'm, intentionally focusing. Um, but once in a while, if I'm out in the field and I'm bewildered, I need to just stop and I'll just ask for guidance. So I've definitely done that. I'm like, which direction do I go?
Yeah,
Help me.
let me be the dowsing rod.
Yeah, yeah,
Get me in the right
yeah.
direction with this.
That actually works. It actually does work. I've actually been able to follow somebody's tracks a certain distance. I lose it, but I can follow tracks for a while.
Which is incredible because I mean, your show was called Sensing Murder. And so there you are, you're like the bloodhound, only on an energetic level, you're profoundly following that path as best you can. And for those of people who are watching who are like, how could she even do that? There's an energetic pathway that is left wherever we go.
Yes.
And we not might not be able to see it with our physical eyes. It's not like you're trying to use a tracking abilities, looking for footprints
Right, right,
necessarily.
right,
These
right.
are energetic footprints,
Yes, correct.
and you're sensing the energy that's been left behind.
Mhm.
Do you feel that's part of the psychometry of reading the energy of that space, and you're attuning to it? So you're finding probably that the picture helps you first attune to that individual energetically so that you can begin the initial energy.
Mhm.
But then as you're getting to know their energy signature more and more, that's like you just got the scent of it, like a bloodhound, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you're on it. So when you say it only takes you so far, have you noticed that there's like a distance
It
for
feels like
some of
a distance. I don't know why, but it does feel like a distance for some reason that I'd sort of just I sort of drop off the trail or something. And I don't know if it's me, my own energy that I get tired and I
them? Yeah.
lose it. It could be that. But it's really interesting because I can tell, let's say I'm tracking somebody energetically through the woods.
Mhm.
We'll just say the woods. And I come to a fork in the road. Like say I have a missing hiker, and this does happen. So say I have a missing hiker, and I come to this fork in the road, and now I'm trying to figure out which way did they go. Uh, I can feel that. I can feel that. I can feel they've never been on this trail. I don't feel their energy over here.
It's not imprinted. No prints are left energetically there.
And no, yeah, there's just no, it's just there's no energetic connection to that location. And then I go on this side, and I'm like, okay, I can still feel them here. I can
Mhm.
feel them. And I just keep following that. And then what I do is, because I've done this in a car where somebody else is driving, then I'll just ask guides, turn left or turn right or keep going straight. uh, and I'll get an answer, keep going, keep going. And then I'll feel a pull like, oh, you've got to turn here. You have to turn here. And so I can navigate for a certain amount of time. But like I said, at some point it drops for some reason.
And in terms of that, are you trying to energetically do what you can to bolster yourself so you get it for as long the signal for as long as you can? Have you noticed that there are some things that seem to optimize that for you, or there's no rhyme or reason
I don't
necessarily?
know. I haven't figured it out yet.
Hmm.
I'd like to figure it out why that drops off, and is it me? Is it my own belief system that it's going to?
Mm-hmm.
Could be, it could be my own mental block of I'm going to lose this trail eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could be me getting in the way of me, but I'm not sure. But it's I've had that happen a lot of times where I just get so far and then it just starts to fade, and all of a sudden, I'm
Do you
like,
then try to revisit it another time to see if you can pick that up, or once you have gotten so far, that's as far as it happens for you if you were to return to that site?
then I usually try a different method,
Mhm.
then I usually try a different method or something. So I'm just like, one thing I do that I try to teach too is not to force things. I really try not to force things.
Right.
So,
That's why I
um,
wondered if you step back and kind of like give it a day or two, and then you can
Mm.
re-enter in that energy if it would take you further, or
maybe, maybe,
if that could help.
yeah.
Do you also think it's in part whoever's driving the car, whoever's with you, their urgency, their energy also possibly coloring or drawing your energy to them?
Potentially, I had an interesting situation where I was doing exactly that. We had a missing couple, an elderly couple, and they were missing in Canada, and I was with a person who was involved in the search, and we will say that this person was questionable, which I learned later. This person was questionable. I wasn't alone with them, but still, in the car with them. And we were driving, and I'm doing my go straight, turn left, turn right, and then I just lose it. I just lose it. And so I was like, pull over because I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do from here. And he says, you see that house across the street? And I said, yeah. And he said, that's the that's the best friend of the prime suspect. I was like, oh, okay, can we go now? But the guy in the car knew that because he was friends with that person. That's when I was like, okay, I'd like to go now. uh,
Right, right. You felt instantly uncomfortable with that
that
disclosure.
situation. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, oh, I don't like this dynamic at all. Yeah.
Right, right. So sometimes it's get me out of Dodge, as it were. But
Yeah.
you feel sometimes like hot, cold, like you're like, oh, it's hot, it's hot, it's hot, oh, cold, too far. It's like playing that
Mhm.
game
Kind
when
of.
children do, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then you're kind of notified, oh, too far, and then you're like, oh, where is it?
Yes.
Because and you're
Yes.
like, oh, it's warm. Well, warm doesn't help as much
Right.
as
Right. Yes. I think it doesn't come through that clear for me, but it'll be, um, I've noticed just for myself, like if somebody tries to pull me away from it, I start getting really agitated and I want to go back, take me
oh,
back. I'll be like, take me back over there. And I'll start getting really, really agitated because I want to go back. So I'll feel like they're wasting my time by making me go over here. Um, so that's the indicator for me. It's like, okay, we're going away from it instead of towards it.
So for you, doing a team search is not so great. You really want to just have that. And to what extent, because if you're going into more of a cold case situation, to what extent does other people's energy confuse the location as well? Because you got all these energetic snail trails that crissy-cross, and you're just like, oh, now I'm smelling this. Now I'm perceiving this,
Yeah.
and that's it's confusing the pathways for you. And have you been able to get yourself through that hurdle? What do you tell yourself or help yourself to do in those moments?
I actually don't have that problem with because because I'm connected to that specific energy, I can stay on that. The
Very focused.
problem
Good.
isn't that. The problem is people trying to talk me out of what I'm doing. It's more that people will go, well, that's not logical. Why would they do that? Or, or whatever. But they'll argue with me and I even had somebody do it to me the other day who knows better, started going, well, they're not, and started arguing with me. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're doing it. So when they start trying to talk me out of where I want to go or where I'm being pulled and stuff like that. So I have more of that problem
Got it.
than confusing the energies, but that's an ongoing problem. I mean, I don't know if that's ever going to go away,
Yeah,
right?
human beings, what they are, they all have their opinion, right?
hmm hmm
And their own suppositions.
Yeah. Like
Oh,
in that last case, it was an Alzheimer's patient who's missing and I kept saying, I think she, in her mind, wanted to go to the zoo or was heading towards the zoo. And they were, like, she's not at the zoo. That I didn't say she's in the zoo.
right. She
They
was
said she
headed
doesn't have
in
any
her
money. That's what they she doesn't
on
have
her
any
in her
money.
mind she wants to go there. There's a
Yeah, I'm
difference.
like, no, I'm not saying she bought a ticket to the zoo. I'm saying it's a direction. It's a direction.
Yes. We need to
So,
find where she thinks a zoo might be. You have to also think like the individual, right?
yeah,
And so many people, if they're in that Alzheimer's state or altered mental state, they're not taking in the world the way you or I would.
correct.
Everybody has their own reality, and then there's the reality.
Yes,
And so you're
yes.
having to follow the trail of their particular reality.
Correct. Because we had another one. We had another one. She hasn't been found yet either, but she kept telling her family members, and I could feel it. I could feel it in her. I didn't know this until they confirmed it after I told them. But I said, she's going in her mind. She was walking. She's trying to go to her aunt's house. And I was like, she wants to go see her aunt. That's where she's going. And they said her aunt's been dead for 15 years. But she had told them that she
Right.
was going to see her.
Yes.
So, in
See,
their
and
own,
so I mean, you got it right. You're just trying to pinpoint it past those moments where it doesn't make sense in our minds. It's
right,
not about that. So,
right. It's like, what are
yeah,
their
that's
intentions?
such
I
a good
always
point.
read their intention. I try, if they're alive, if they're not alive, I don't have intention to grab onto, right?
Ah, yes.
Um, and if they are alive, I have their intention to grab onto. So, but even if it's like a missing hiker, I can still sort of get intention on what they were thinking when they came to a fork in the road, maybe.
And
But
why they chose that versus
why
the
they
other.
chose that way
Yeah,
or something like that. But alive people, that's why I think they're easier because I can
their
tune into
movements.
their
Yeah.
intentions. What do they want? What are their needs? What are they thinking about? Usually food, sleep, all the basic things, right? So normally I can tune into what they want and what their intentions are and where they plan to go next.
Mm-hmm. And so if they are so-called dead, and you can't tune into their intentions or their movements, and you're having to rely more on the mediumship level of things. What happens in terms of using your intuition more in that category?
Yeah. Um, that's where I do that process of what's in front of me, what's behind
Sure.
me, give
To
me a
get to
landmark
that point.
and all of that, and trying to build a map of it.
Hmm.
But that feels like the harder of the two. It definitely is the harder. People think missing persons who are not alive are easier because they're not moving. I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, but if it's just a place in the woods somewhere and
And they
there's
might
no,
not be familiar with that location. Maybe they haven't been
yeah.
there. So there's a lack, just because someone has passed over, there is an assumption that, oh, they're all seeing, all knowing. Well, they're not God. They don't necessarily have that framework within themselves to understand physical location,
Right.
especially if they weren't very good at that sort of thing in geography when they were in the living.
Yeah,
That's what,
or kids, they don't know where
yes,
they're at.
they have no
Kids,
clue. So
kids don't.
it can be frustrating because you are limited to that extent.
Hmm. I had a
And
guy, I was started telling you this story
oh yes, please do tell me that.
before.
Yeah.
Uh, and this ties into the question, is because I was trying to determine if he was dead or alive, and he looked like a pretty he had red hair, and he just looked like a pretty strong personality, right? um, and I'm looking at his picture and trying to determine if he was alive or not alive. And I was kind of struggling with it. And so I decided I was going to just meditate on it for a few minutes. And then I think I drifted off and went to sleep. Um, and I hear this, wake up, wake up. She's waiting for you. She's waiting for you. And there's a spirit just like in my face going, wake up, wake up. And it's clearly him. It's clearly him. And his mom, who I had an appointment with, had jumped on 15 minutes early to our Zoom meeting. And so I jump on there, and sure enough, she's there, she's there. And he wanted to make sure I didn't have her waiting. But I knew without a doubt at that point, he's not alive. But I was able to tell her, I asked him, I said, I can have a conversation with him with her in front of me, right? So I said, how do you want me to handle your mom? like, like, what do you want me to say? And he said, I want you to tell her exactly what I'm saying because what's going on in her head is scarier than the truth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And he had gone to fight in Ukraine, and disappeared, and they can't find him. And so her, she's thinking, is he a POW and he's being tortured? Is something horrible happening to him? In her mind, there's all these things. And he's like, tell her how this happened. And I'm going to show you how it happened. And then tell her because it's going to bring her peace. And I was like, okay, I'm going to trust you. This is your mom. I'm going to trust you. And he told me, he showed me that there was a structure being fired on, and that he was back quite a distance back with four guys, and that they were watching this. And so they knew they were under attack, but they thought that they were far enough away. I think they were in like a bunker or something because he said they were hidden. Um, so they were far back, and and then it's okay. My guard dog saw a car go by. Um, so then all of a sudden, this is what he says to me. He's such a he kind of had a sense of humor, but he said one of the guys in the bunker with me turned out to be a really good friend. Like we made really good friends. And he said, we were here in the bunker and then we were there together. So he's like, we were here and then we were there. And that's what I want you to tell my mom. And he said, we didn't see it coming. We didn't see it coming. There was no fear. It was just sudden we were hit. And so he was like, literally, I was laying in the bunker and then we were both on the other side together. And that's what he wanted to tell her.
And that brought her some measure of peace that he wasn't in suffering mode and
Yeah,
continuing
you know
on.
what else he said? Here was the beautiful thing that he said. He said, this was the beautiful thing he said, because they can't recover his body, right? And so he said, I've never had a spirit say this to me. He said, I want her to create her own spot. Just go create a spot, someplace that she knows that I love to go, and just put the cross there and create the spot, and that's the spot. And I was just like, that's awesome. That's brilliant. Because that's one of the things that hurts these people the most, missing families of missing persons, is they don't have a spot to go to.
It's
Like
true.
us, we understand, mediums understand a lot of times that we don't need a physical place.
Correct.
But other
Right.
people don't, they feel like they need a physical place. And so he's like, just create the physical place. And I was just like, that's beautiful.
It is. And so that's why people will end up with a memorial bench or
Mhm.
a place in their yard or something that they have done to help in the community that is in there's their name, and somehow those become touchstones for them of something on a slightly more substantial, solid level,
Yeah.
representing their loved one, and that they can visit, that they can look at, that they can feel like this is where we can talk, or this is
Yeah.
where we can
Yeah.
commune
Yeah.
together, and I can maybe feel you every now and then, and we
Yeah.
can say
Mhm.
hello. So yeah, you're absolutely right. That is something that it can be so comforting for the people here on the earth plane. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Because when
love
you
that.
have the missing person, it's ambiguous loss. We call it ambiguous loss, where they're trying to grieve without answers. So they're trying to go ahead and grieve, but they don't have answers. And so most of them will tell me, we don't have a place. If we can just designate a place. And that's why a lot of them are so desperate to find the location, is because they want that place. Um,
Mhm.
and so I thought that was really a brilliant. I have another case in Montana that they did that. We can't find the remains. We're pretty sure we're in the right place, but we can't find the remains. And they said, it doesn't matter to
Mhm.
us. This is the place, and we're gonna and treat it like this is the place.
Right. You can decide where that needs to be, and energetically, it's like you put your own little energetic post
Right.
right right
Exactly.
there.
Exactly.
Um, just along those lines, let's say you have had what some people would consider the successful closing of an investigation, be it a missing person or a cold case,
Yeah.
and they're able to, get that person back or get the remains, return them. To what extent do you energetically feel the shift yourself? If you tune into that, do you feel like the energy is cleaned in that area where they used to be and is in a new location then?
It's so interesting. So for me, it's always such a relief. It's always because it's kind of a burden. We call it the searcher's burden.
Yeah.
Uh, and so every time we have a resolution, I feel a weight has been lifted off, a little weight has been lifted off, and I do feel that. But what was the rest of the question?
Oh, when things, I'm just using the word successful. I don't know that I should use it. Maybe resolved
No, I know,
somehow.
I know.
A missing person or someone who has passed and people have been able to collect their remains finally, or to what extent do you feel the energy is no longer locked down in that zone where they
Mm.
were, that it's shifted now that their remains, or that the close of the case has happened? If you were to return to that and to that place, or even intuitively try to pinpoint into that energy again, would you not no longer feel that connection or energetic tie there for
You know,
them?
it's such an interesting question. It's a great question, and I have interesting answer. It's a really cool question
Yes.
because I learned this I learned this over a series of cases we did on sensing murder, actually. And I was shocked to discover early on in doing this work that trauma, we call it trauma energy, that hangs around in a location. And so that's what I'm tuning into when I do those cases. I can feel that trauma and I can read it, and then I can step out of it. I can step away from it back. It's literally a location. And I can step out of it, and then I can step back into it. So trauma energy stays in a location, I think, indefinitely, because I've read trauma energy after 27 years in a location where people were walking by, riding their bikes. It was like a normal alley at the beach where a shootout had happened. And I could still feel the events, but every single day people are walking their dogs and riding bikes and doing normal stuff. And it didn't remove that trauma. Um, so I used to believe, oh my gosh, it just stays forever. um, and then we did a case on sensing murder, and it was a young woman who was studying to become a nun. I don't know the proper terminology, um, but she was on the grounds of the what do you call it?
The
Where the
convent, or
convent, yeah. She was on the grounds. She had gone up onto this top of this hill to pray and meditate and read, and she was attacked on the grounds by like a vagrant person, I think, that was coming through. And so, needless to say, so I go there to do the show. In this case was unsolved for 20 something years when they brought me there. And I go up to the top of the hill, and I'm wondering, normally I can find trauma energy, I can feel it. My heart starts racing and I can feel it. I'm wandering back and forth all over this hill, and I'm like, are you sure this is the right spot? And I kept going, are you sure we're in the right place? And they said, yes, right here. I said, put me right on the right spot. So they take me over there, and I'm just like, all I feel is a blanket of peace and love. That's all I feel. I can't, um, I can't read this crime. It's like I can't read this crime because all I feel is peace and love. And it's almost like somebody had laid down a comforting blanket. And that's all I could feel. And so I'm baffled, I'm like, I don't know. And there were nuns off to the side watching me work. And I said, I said, have you guys been praying up here? And she said, shocked, she said, yes. She said, after it happened, we all gathered around in a circle. There were like 20 of us, and we did it for 2 weeks every day. We went up there and we went into a circle and we prayed that that negative energy and the evilness would be taken away from our land. And I was like, well, it worked. It worked. That's really cool. I can't. I can't read the crime. So I had to do all the work from the police station because I couldn't do it. I
Because
couldn't
it
do
had
it.
been effectively erased. I love that. And I'll just really briefly share a story of my own. When I was in Rome, we were going different places, and we went to the Colosseum, and we're standing in line. And my husband and I went with a group, and they were so worried because they know what I do. Like, are you going to be okay when you go in there? And I hadn't even thought about the Colosseum being where gladiator fights and
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
died building it. Like,
Right. Right.
it's not my thing to think negatively, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in line and my stomach starts to kind of hurt a little bit because I'm picking up from the people I'm traveling with, their worry, right? And so I get in there and I'm like, huh, I'm not feeling any of that. I'm like, what's wrong?
Right.
What's wrong with me?
Right.
And the tour guides, guiding us around, and we're paused on a spot. I'm like, seriously, I feel like I'm at church. I'm at the Coliseum. I feel like I'm at church. And I say to the tour guide, were there any ever church services here? Oh, yes, twice a week. And during different points of history, nuns and monks have lived here. And by the way, where you're standing, that little white circle of chalk is one of the stations of the cross because we're getting ready for Good Friday. So I have to say, sometimes those energies can be obliterated, but it's also a point of us tuning our radio station. What are we tuning ourselves into? Are we tuning into the trauma response, the
Right.
ooh and the ah and the
But
fear?
I was
Right.
trying to, right? I was trying and it was gone. I was
But
trying to
this
find
is
it.
such a hopeful message for people, though. I think on another level, as much as you're like, this is kind of messed with my investigation,
Right.
right? The
Right.
energetic currents of trauma have been
Yeah.
disturbed and erased.
Fun.
But it's such a good thing because people need to know that when they are setting that beautiful intention of light to every corner of their room,
Yes.
that is what sets the
It
energy of
works.
the
It
home,
works. Yes.
and
Because that's
for
what it taught
bigger
me.
locations as well.
Yeah. That's what it taught me is that this is real. Like this really
It is.
works. Prayer works, intention works.
Yeah,
Um, and I was just really, really, I'll never forget that. It's a lesson that stayed with me. It
it
stayed with
should.
me forever.
Oh, I love that story of yours. And as much as you're like, well, darn it all. But at the same time, it's such a hopeful thing because people need to know that trauma does not last forever.
Yeah.
It doesn't get to win,
Yeah.
and that things can be overcome, not just in our own wishful thinking, but on an energetic level. Prayer force is life force,
Hmm.
and it will transcend all. It'll move us all energetically into a state of grace.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
beautiful, deeper message.
Yeah. I am
Well,
so glad I learned it,
yes.
because I was just like, that's really special to understand that this is real. Energy can be transformed.
Yeah.
Um, the negative can be transformed into something else. It's just people have to know to do it, to know
Mm-hmm.
to do it, you know?
I know our time's going so fast. Any last things you're thinking that would be great for people to understand about how you use intuition in real investigations? Because this has been great.
I think, the main thing is that I I see myself as part of the process, part of the tool, uh, part of the team. I'm a tool. I'm like, don't call me a tool. But I am just part of the team. I'm another tool that they use. I can't change what's happened. I can't magically. A lot of people think that, okay, they're going to bring in a psychic and it's going to fix everything. It's just magically going to fix everything. And I'm like, no, it's not. I can't control um, things where if a body's not recoverable for whatever reasons, or different things like that. Like I'm not in control of any of that stuff. So all I can do is give what I'm given, and pass it along, and then let the officials do their thing.
Mhm.
So, because I think a lot of people have this misconception that you're going to come in and rescue and save the day, and that
Savior stuff, yeah, savior complex.
magical and somehow it's magical.
Yeah,
And if they just get a psychic, it'll all be magical. And and I'm like, it doesn't change evidence. I could tell them this person is the one who did it. I could take them by the hand and say, this is the person who did it. Um, but if they don't have that physical evidence, they don't have evidence, you know, there's
right.
not much. So I think it's for people to have the realistic view of what it actually is, and what a
And it's
psychic.
hard to have acceptance because you're like, but the justice that must be done, right? So on one level, because you are a spiritual investigator in this sense, you understand that you can't be in charge of the justice. You can help to the extent that you can, and the rest you have to leave in God's hands, which is
Correct.
really, really hard when it's your person, when it's personal, and you want them to be found or to have justice in their situation. So, yeah, that would be probably the most difficult thing.
It's very hard when you have to understand that there's a bigger picture, and there's always purpose behind some of these things. And sometimes it's a timing thing, or sometimes it's a lesson that families having to endure. And I'm not in control of any of that. And so I'm really good about understanding my role spiritually,
Yes.
that I can help heal. I threw a little tantrum one time. I threw a little tantrum one time because I was really struggling with the case, and we couldn't find our person, and I was super discouraged, and I think I was yelling at the guys, why do I even do this? Why am I doing this? Why? um, and very calmly, I hear in my head, they said, maybe it's not about the results, it's always been about the effort. And I said, oh, okay. Oh, and I got it.
Process that you're in.
I
Yeah.
got it because they were saying to these families, just the fact that somebody cares, somebody's trying, somebody's holding their hand, somebody's listening and sees them and is embracing them, that's what they need. And so that's kind of what they were saying.
Oh,
It's
that's
not
beautiful.
always about the result. It's always about the effort. And I was like, all right.
I'll keep going, I guess.
But I need a week off because I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I energetically, this is a demand upon you to do this kind of work. And you've learned to balance that well so you're not too woo-woo and you're not too rational, so that you can still hear effectively and intuitively what your team and what those folks in spirit are telling you as well.
Yeah.
And I know there's so many families that are probably very, very grateful for what you've been able to do, whether it's to find their person or to reopen situations or close situations as needed. I can
And
only
just even
imagine
give them
hundreds
answers.
and
Sometimes
hundreds.
just
Yeah,
answers. They just want answers, you
sure.
know?
We
Yeah.
all do. We all do. But what an amazing life you have led to do this work and to train other people about that. So I do want to mention your website, pamcoronado.com, and that you do teach people how to be more psychic or how to be psychic investigators. And there are some people that are more effective in that role than others. It's not for everyone. If you are very sensitive
Yeah.
and can't handle a lot of the visual stimuli and the aftermath of those things, then it might not be for you.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you help to pinpoint that with your students so
Yeah.
well. and I think it's beautiful. I know you have some things coming up. Let's share with folks what you have in the works.
Yeah, and this one I'll be really, really quick, but I have a lot going on in my own life right now, and I have a case that I'm a fugitive, and I've been struggling, and I just haven't had the time to sit down and do it. And so the other night I had a dream, and they were like, "This is where he lives." They literally told me in the dream, and I was like, "Thank you, thank you." Um, and then I passed that on to the detectives, and they were like, "That's really crazy because." that's where we that's where we are. That's where we think we are. So they did verify that. But I'm segueing into that I do have a dream workshop coming up. I'm co-teaching with Dale Graff, who was one of the military involved in the military remote viewing program. And he's a long time dream researcher. And so we're pairing up to do a dream workshop, and that's going to be in person in Maryland, in Easton. So we're trying to nail down the hotel, but that's going to be in June, and that'll be up on my website. And then Psy Games. So Psy Games.
Oh yeah, side games. Tell us about
I
side
gave
games.
you the event of the year. It's growing. It's just bursting at the seams. Um, the inaugural event was last year at the end of July, and we didn't know if who was going to show up because we were worried that people didn't like competition. Um, but
Oh
it
right.
wasn't just about competition. It was also lots of speakers and presentations and panels, and we even had an ethics panel that I sat on. A lot of really, really great talks and things. But Sci Games was we had people who were competing in different things, like dowsing, and we have something called Mind Sight where they wear um, a blindfold and they match up color pegs with these color rings, uh, all while they're blindfolded. They're using their intuition to do that, and just all these really cool different tasks. And the audience is sitting there watching, and they're up there performing this stuff live. And so they're calling it the Psy Olympics. It's like the Psy Olympics, they're calling it. And I've never been in an event where people are being celebrated for being psychic and for being weird. And, and the whole audience is behind them and they're rooting for them. And we had a judges panel, and then we had um, the speakers who on the side, the commentators, commentators talking about what was going on upstage. So we had like 500 people came for the first event, and this one we've already sold 1,000 tickets for the next year.
When
And
is this?
people are training, like they're going to training camps and
Oh,
like
so
getting ready
when and
for
where
China.
is this? The
This is going to be this year, it'll be the same dates, the end of July, and it'll be in Charlotte. Charlotte? I think I always get it confused. Charlotte, North Carolina.
okay.
Last year it was in Charlottesville.
Okay. Oh, I see.
This is why I'm like, last year it was in Charlottesville. This year it will be in Charlotte.
At the end of July, and that
Uh-huh.
is an in-person event
In person,
known
huge.
as
The
the Psy
energy,
Games.
energy was so um high. I think it took me days to come down off of that high. Because a room full of people, and I've been to a lot of events and a lot of conferences. And this one, I've never felt so much love. Like, and I mean truly love. Like everybody was so supportive, and everybody, it was just a big love fest, and the people that won, they got money, they got cash prizes. They got cash prizes. And there were teams, some of them had teams, so they had like their little jackets and their pom-poms. It's so funny. It's so fun. It was
Is
so
there
fun.
information about that on your website, or is there a website that we can refer people to?
I will, yeah, it's Psy Game, PSI Games International. PSI Games International.
All right, great. That'll be fun for people who
Be
want
fun.
to be spectators or participants,
Uh-huh.
either this year or next year or coming
Yeah.
year.
And you
Come
have to
to
audition to be a participant. Like they take it really seriously. You have to audition to be, but anybody can go and watch it and cheer them on and watch the activities and then go see all.
American Psychic Idol.
Yeah, yeah. And it's growing so much that they're going to do one in the UK. So they've asked if they could do one in the UK if we'd help them put that on in
Be like
2026.
America's Got Psychic Talent. A
Yeah,
reality show. So
it's
these are not televised. These are only in-person
not
events.
televised. I keep telling them, you guys need to turn this into a show because it's just like
You can
it's so
sell tickets or
fun.
whatever.
It is so fun. But
Funny.
the point of it for me, besides the fun aspect, the point of it is normalize, normalize this and stop hiding and making it secretive and something we're embarrassed about.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Celebrate it, put it out there, normalize it, celebrate it. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to celebrate and normalize it.
Right. And I think there's this line between how do you normalize it without making it too much about entertainment, when you want to keep it on the sacred level, the serious level of it. But then
Mhm.
there's this lighthearted quality. If
Mhm.
when people are in a playful, joyous, centered place, it's easier for them to be more intuitive, more mediumistic, and more healing. So I think there's that element of fun
We're
is
going to
important.
add mediumship. We're trying to figure out because it's all being done very scientific so that it's fair. We've had to really, really make sure everything is buttoned down and fair. But we are going to add a mediumship category. We're working on that right now, the logistics of that. So, um,
Whole group.
yeah.
I think that's really fascinating.
So there eventually will be a mediumship category.
How fun is that? Well, this has been such a joy to chat with you again, and to share with our viewers about the ways that you use intuition and real investigations. And I'll just say again, thank you so much for all the work that you do as an investigator and as a teacher in this field, and as someone who's on those front lines regularly. That is invaluable work. And as you said earlier, it's more about the effort than a certain perceived result
Yeah.
or outcome. And
Mhm.
that there's a sacred light to what you're doing and what you're finding out there. And that it's helping you to be more aware on a soul level of the importance of this journey, and helping other people on the journey. It's very evident in your energy. So
Thank you. Thank you. And
thank
thank
you,
you
thank
for
you.
having me back. So fun to,
Abs-
yeah.
Absolutely. Love to have you back. Absolutely. You're just a beautiful, beautiful light and person. And thank you everyone for tuning in today, for our guest, Pam Coronado. We're just so excited about the things to come in this beautiful field. And please tune in next week. We'll have another great show for you. All right, everyone. Bye.